Welcome to the BYOD Podcast, Bring Your Own Directions. My name is Björn, co-CEO of Resolution, and on this show, where every guest sets their own path, sharing insights and ideas about Agile topics and the Atlassian ecosystem. Proudly sponsored by NASA, not another stand-up app. The Atlassian marketplace app that makes Agile ceremonies, stand-ups, and planning sessions not just efficient, but enjoyable. So please stand by. So, welcome back. Today with me is Hubert from AppForge. He's the founder and the CEO. I know him since many years from Atlassian community events in Berlin. And yeah, let's say hello to Hubert. Hey Hubert, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Björn, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I was waiting for that invitation, to be honest, because I'm following you and your podcast. That's a great idea. If could double myself, maybe I would also think about something like that, because I know how much effort is that, and I'm really appreciate what you are doing, especially bringing all our fellows from the Atlassian ecosystem that we know really well. So yeah,
Perfect.
nice to be here.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for the flowers. It's definitely effort, but AI also makes it much easier nowadays to prepare things like this. So I see you are dressed up already. So the last times when I have seen you, you was always wearing the doctor outfit. We will come to this in a second. At the moment in Germany, a lot of people are sick. I think the last numbers, what I read, roughly up to 20% are sick. So I know that's not exactly your business, but definitely you have a trend topic here. So we know us since many years now. I think we met first time 2019 when I joined the Atlassian ecosystem, and you were already in the Atlassian ecosystem there. And I saw you the first time on Berlin-Brandenburg Atlassian community event. And you are always visible, you are always loud, you have always funny stories, so it's super easy to get in contact with you. So what was your beginning in the Atlassian ecosystem? How do you enter the ecosystem and the whole Agile world?
Oh, that's a really funny story, because I never planned to be Atlassian community event leader, because it's a lot of work. But as you said, frankly, I'm always loud. So sorry for you or for other people that meeting me if I'm shouting too much, but I think it's about
I
how
like
I
it.
behave and so on. However, so I was always like attending many kind of community events, because I used to live in Amsterdam and I was the member, and then I moved inside the company eBay to Berlin, and I was also attending every single event, and I was always having great topics, great questions, because I was really involved, because when I was doing something, I'm doing that with the full power. And that time I remember that all kudos to the Jörg Müller-Kind. He was the community leader, and he asked me, hey, listen, Hubert, I have less time. Maybe you would like to join me to help me with doing that, because he was also planning the exit in the next 1 or 2 years. And
Yeah.
we are looking for somebody that will first help him and then replace him. But I said, first of all, I'm not sure. But you know me, Björn, so you don't need to ask me twice. The more crazy ideas, then I'm more jumping into it. So I said, okay, whatever, let's try. And if I will not like it, because I was not German-speaking person, and my German is pretty bad. So I said, let's try with full English. But luckily, the Berlin Brandenburg community is fully English speaking. It was never an issue.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how it started. And it was even more funny story, because it was such a nice collaboration together with Jörg that he said, okay, I'm not leaving anymore. And I said, yeah, wow, that's great. So, and also we got another person to help us law. And now in 2025, we are 4 people, and we are organizing like event every 2-3 months. So the next one will be in the first week of March. So if you have time, feel free to join us, and you will see how awesome the community is. We have always like soft drinks, beer and also like pizza, and we try always to bring some interesting topics. So Björn, you were like speaking like every year because just a disclaimer, the Björn, we can work thanks to the companies like Björn, like Resolution, because we have multiple sponsors that can give us some opportunity to bring it on the higher level, because Atlassian is only reimbursing the food, and but if you want to put it on the higher level, you need extra funds. And thanks to the companies like yours, we can do it in the as we would like to do that. And usually we have between 30 to 50 people. However, last year, that's also a funny story, because last year was we were not expecting that. So it was like Web Summit, because in Berlin, like every week something happened, like all kind of conferences, because it's
Yeah.
a city, capital city of Germany, one of the biggest in the Central Europe, and yeah, so we plan the community event, and then like surprisingly 120 people appeared, and we were like panicking, what the heck is going on here? And then
That was the developer summit, or
yes,
in
developer
Berlin. Yeah.
summit, yes, and the people from all over the world, Brazil, USA, Japan, and said, okay, usually we expect 30 people. Okay, how we order now pizza for 120 people, right? So that was a challenge. And I said, why you did not tell us that you are planning to do such a big event? And we said, we did not know that there is another big conference, and people were looking for another stuff. And Atlassian is Fortune 500 company, number one now in the rising the star or whatever its name,
Yeah.
and everybody knows Atlassian, right? In the
Yeah.
IT world, at least. So
Yeah. So I had last year, we had this tour with a couple of app vendors, and I visited a lot of ACE events. So it means it's relatively clear on every ACE event, you get pizza. I think I managed on one tour to eat nearly every day pizza, because also when there was no ACE, I need to grab quickly some food and was pizza again. So I had a pizza diet. But it's managing community. We will come back later to the community aspect, but one more question, because then I want to understand a little bit more what you're doing at the moment. So, and what you did in the past. You mentioned eBay already, etc. But managing a community over so many years now, and I mean, we had a little bit pandemic in between, where it was not possible to meet in person. So, what is your motivation for doing this community work? Because it's also a lot of effort. So thanks for this, and it's not paid, so you're not getting money for it. So what's your motivation for doing these events every 2 months and managing the community with a couple of hundred people?
the answer is pretty simple. So I used to attend different kinds of communities, because I started as an Oracle developer, and I attend Oracle meetups. Then I was doing the ERP meetups, ERP consultant for QAD, which is a competitor of SAP, and
Yeah.
also attending that. And then I changed totally my life, and I started to be the support engineer for Atlassian product in Tieto. And then I started to love this product, because the switch from the ERP into Jira was for me game changer, because I from so that can be even more funny for you if you are
I
not
can imagine. I was
it's
in one
great tool.
SAP migration. That's not fun.
Yes.
So,
So if you think about how difficult for me was to become senior engineer for ERP application, if you compare to Jira product, which was, I think, developed by the developers, so Mike and Scott, right? So they used
yeah.
to write the code, so they know the need of the people that will use that app. And I started to laugh that since the Jira 4 and even Jira 3, I remember that I did the migration, and I started to love the product. And then it was even big game changer. So I attended first time for community event. It was in Amsterdam,
Mhm.
and it was great. Wow. So if you compare to guys in the suits, like walking, like, trying to sell you or like being super like professional, and then coming here, t-shirt company, nobody's wearing the tie. I brought a shirt, like, and the white shirt,
Oh, you were overdressed.
and they were laughing at me like, what the heck are you bringing here? Why you are doing the dude? And everybody was super relaxed, and since that day I said, okay, that's the place where I would like to work and that I would like to attend, because it's a source of knowledge. Because
Yeah.
why I'm always saying that, of course I'm saying from the leader perspective, but I was always for 4 or 5 years just a member. But that's one of the best source to get a solution for any of your problem that you encounter at work. And I always did. So when I worked at eBay, we have 13 instances of the Jira, 15,000 the biggest one, multiple confluences, fisheye, crucible, and all the stuff. And I had always some kind of problem that this time was not that easy to find. That community platform for the problems was not that well developed.
Mhm.
It was really tough to find some answers, or you were even trying yourself, but you never, if you try yourself, it's good for learning, but you don't know if it's a best practice.
Yeah.
That's why I put the sticking notes with the problem, and I was bringing, and there was like people like with 10 years even experience and or more, right? That
Yeah.
could nearly solve any of your problems, or they were suggesting you the apps that can solve your problems, or like can optimize how you are, what kind of work you are doing, and you can like automate them and so on. And yeah, that was the story. So I always brought my own problem and find a solution, getting connection, and super relaxed atmosphere. And oh yeah, so people were super kind. Nobody was like, it doesn't matter from where you are, who you are, what are you doing at the end. If you just want to have friends, then that is a perfect
So
idea.
means instead of contacting an Atlassian solution partner, you went to the next community event with your problems, and here, perfect, here's my solution, because you met another person who's working with a environment, and yeah, the collaboration in the network. So you took the benefits out of it. And that's really cool. I mean, this overdressed story I also know. When I joined my first Atlassian event, I also asked Chris, the co-founder of Resolution. So what is a dress code? Because I have also 20 suits at home and a lot of shirts, but they are now collecting just dust. I don't need them anymore. And he said, yeah, when you wear a polo shirt, then it's already overdressed. So take a normal t-shirt. Yeah, I definitely can understand it. But hey, the world is changing. So when we look on the last Atlassian events, and we will talk later about this also, you see also more and more people in suits again and in shirts. I mean, at the moment, you can be relatively sure that's a big Atlassian customer. And but I saw in Barcelona, I think, also the first Atlassian employee with a jacket, so with a proper suit jacket. So it's changing. We need to be careful. So maybe I can reactivate my suits in my wardrobe relatively soon.
If you have 20 of them, maybe
Yeah, I should do. So I hope they still fit, but we will see. So you worked for eBay, so you mentioned it a couple of times as a consultant. You managed the infrastructure. I mean, we can now talk a lot over the past, what were your responsibilities and so on. But let's maybe combine a little bit the past with the actual portfolio of Atlassian. So when you work for a big organization, IT company, eBay, with a lot of challenges, a lot of product services, and so on. They had all these beautiful data instances, etc. Since a couple of years, Atlassian is saying cloud, 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 cloud. No data center, no server anymore. With your experience and your day-to-day challenges and projects, what you did, how would you say that the new Atlassian offerings, product offerings, also when we look a little bit on AI and so on, how is it changing the job of an in-house Atlassian expert? Yeah, how is this changing?
Okay, now, long story short, because I could talk about that full day, like telling you full day.
I
But
think we have a 2-hour recording limit.
okay, then still the short version. So if you ask me this question 6 years ago, I would say I would never move to cloud. Never ever. I would keep my perpetual license of the server that you can run forever till the end
Mhm.
of the world. But now world is changing, right? With all
Yeah.
this feature, as you mentioned, AI and so on, and more stress on software as a service. Why I'm saying that? Because I'm still a little bit like in engineering dinosaurs.
Mhm.
Because as I said, I started with Jira 4, and I still remember when I worked for the branch of Commerzbank, we were tuning Java directly on the server because data center was still not there. We
Yeah.
modified heap size and all this garbage collector to run it because there was like we were always saying, it's a hard limit of 1 million tickets in the server, and then Lucene, so the backend of the infrastructure for indexing, couldn't work and search. That's how the developed for me the passion to the data governance, and that's why about the doctor and so on started to be nested in my brain in some point and never leave me. So that's why I'm always obsessed about the cleanups, and nobody likes to do the cleanups, to be honest. Do you like to clean your house? No one likes to do
No,
it.
it's spring. I started this week to clean up my office, my home office, and it was planned as a 2-hour thing, but it's yeah, still work in progress and not technically done even. So
Yeah, that's why I also have a background as Oracle the support engineer. So the cleanup really often, because Atlassian does not give you anything. Now it started to give you Jira Optimizer, which is super simple. But back in the days, you have to write SQL queries directly versus database to get the info if something is used or not, or if I would show you my private repository, yeah, there are hundreds of scripts for the script runner
Mhm.
to in Groovy to get the data, what is used or what is not used. Of course, SQL queries as well. And that's also the story about that. Yes, never try to update the stuff on the production database, right? That's what they are saying, but they
Yeah.
are not saying that there are no other ways. So I was always told like, Hubert, we need the real senior professional that can do that, and I was the guy that was doing that, dark side of the engineering, so stopping
Yeah.
database, modifying that, and turning it on, and of course doing backup and so on. But yeah, that's how it used to be. Now if the software as a service, that time is gone because even for data center you don't need too much tuning and so on, just the cleanup. You have REST API for nearly everything. So especially in the Jira cloud, you have like REST API for most of the, I'm telling objects. So object is the
Mhm.
keyword that I use always in my presentation and explanation. So object is can be anything like scheme, ticket, value. So that's the object. It's coming, of course, from the programming, and that object needs to be investigated,
Yeah.
and then you need. So I always saying that our Doctor App has 100 years of experience of doing the cleanup. So why? So I closed in the room 10 consultants like myself, the friends, together. We were sitting for nearly like 1 month, like, and trying to do the proper like logic for diagnosis. And we all
Yeah.
that kind of idea. Our backlog is still like, oh, to the moon.
Yeah. Tons
But
of ideas.
yes. But yeah, so that's how you do that. So being on the experience level. So now, if we go back, so if now you ask me, cloud is the future. So data center will stay in highly super regulated companies,
Mhm.
like maybe banks. But even though, like I discussed yesterday with the customers, that it's moving to the cloud, that it's a bank in UK.
Mhm.
So even for regulated industry, there is a door that can be open and moved to the Atlassian cloud, especially that Atlassian put a lot of the stress on certification, all the regulation, and it's getting better and better in data processing, the data storing, and all the kind of security to give the users the possibility to move it. Still,
Yeah.
it's not perfect because even though I still have a lot of friends inside the eBay, and if they will migrate to cloud, they will lose half of the functionalities because they have plenty of scripts
Yeah.
or behaviors. Really often, that's a common problem with modifying UI, and there is no equivalent of the app in the cloud.
Hmm.
And also, what I do not like that much, have you seen the recent change of Atlassian of UI? So
Which one?
the one that you lost the top bar and it's now on the left bar.
Yeah, I saw it. I have it now in one of my test instances because it's like classic. It's not active on all instances immediately. I saw it 2 days ago the first time, and I thought, "Oh shit, my Jira is broken. Where's the menu? Reload, reload, reload." And then I looked to the left. Ah, okay, it's there.
It took me 1 week to get used to it. And I know already from some customers that it will be pain point, especially for bigger one, but it is what it is. That's the software as a service. You accept the constant changes. So it's not
Yeah.
just written in the stone that it will look always like this, and that's it. And
I
also,
mean,
I think, just
that's
ending the thought about the data center. So data center will
yeah.
stay only in highly regulated price. And even if you see the new pricing from February, it's extremely expensive. I think they are like increase the price like heavily, half or even more. And
What do you think about these continuous price increases from Atlassian? So
the true story.
short
So we are
sentence.
talking about only truth here.
Yeah.
So my opinion is that they are killing the last argument the big companies had. I mean, I
Mm.
remember in eBay evaluation of the Jira uh, Cloud Premium, even not talking about enterprise, to Jira Data Center. Data Center was 35% cheaper after even the reducing of the price of the cloud.
Yeah.
And now, if they increase the price heavily, that argument is gone. So it's data center is not cheaper for the same
But
amount.
also, cloud is continuously increasing, or the price increase is also there. So it's
But not that heavily.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. So
So
it's
if you
I mean,
double the data center and you increase 10% of the cloud, then but also it's interesting about the topic. So if I'm not sure how much you are into AI, but now the OpenAI released on Monday information about more paper usage, and that's how it coming to my brain now that Atlassian is using OpenAI partnership, and if OpenAI will increase the limit, how it will be with the pricing of the Jira and the usage. So we could expect in 1-2 years even more. And also for us as a vendor, now next year Atlassian will push us to pay for the users of the Forge apps.
yeah,
So also
yeah,
including the
yeah.
apps.
I'm not sure about it. I mean, the AI changes and the AI journey is changing at the moment every day, nearly every hour. So especially when you look on the last couple of weeks with DeepSeek, they changed a little bit the topic again and showed, okay, you can also create these super expensive model on a much lighter, much faster way. But at the same time, yes, OpenAI has or changed somehow the quota and the limits on their standard subscriptions and what you can do. At the same time, the super cool benefits are on these plus subscriptions now, where you pay 200 euros per user. So it's shifting. So the quotas and the possibilities are shifting. I think with AI stuff, or my feeling, especially with the Atlassian I think it's a good idea. It's AI is really good in creating new stuff. I'm using AI nearly every day for creating new feature visions in Jira Product Discovery, for example, creating test plans. I use it for my backlog grooming. I also use it for story point estimation and so on. The interesting point is I'm not using Atlassian AI for that. I'm using at the moment ChatGPT operator in some cases, or just OpenAI tools or other tools, because Atlassian is not, from my perspective, not on the same pace level like the AI big names are doing it at the moment, but they are charging the same stuff. And that's what I get at the moment in a lot of customer and also partner conversations. That's why I asked for the price increases and so on. It's data center, yes. So we heavily also we have still thousands of data center customers on our products. We love them, and we also continuously develop our data center product. But the amount of customers is also shrinking every month. I think increasing the price so heavily, so to push these customers to cloud, was in the last year an understandable step, but now they do it a little bit too much. Yeah, so and I think that's what I hear from a lot of customers and solution partners at the moment. The biggest problem is not the price increase itself, cloud and data center. The biggest problem is that it continuously happens. Every year at the moment, it's going up 20% for cloud or data center more. And Atlassian also introduced new features as new products, which is in addition to your 20% if you want to use it. And this makes it super complicated. Well, I assume you had the same in eBay, budget rounds and so on for the licensing every year. So means somebody need to go again to the management. Hey guys, by the way, I need 20 to 50% more budget that we can do the same and experiment with the new stuff. And this makes it super hard for customers at the moment.
Yeah, so I worked as a customer for nearly 7 years, first in the eBay, then at the Vinta, and now it's a company belongs to BlackRock, because eBay Europe group was sold to the Norwegian fund and then to American private fund. Anyway, exactly like what you are saying. I'm a big fan of data center, but I'm dinosaurs, as I already mentioned. But
come on, you're not so old.
Yes, but old with experience. So imagine that we had a setup with Ansible playbook that we could update our data center between the versions, like when you have a security bulletin every month, in 15 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
So because we had just everything automated with that pipelines and the workflow in the GitHub. And then we just run a playbook, put the version, download it, putting there, post updates, moving the files or checking. Of course, first on the lower environments like test and staging, and then on production rollout. Super easy, 1-2 hours done. So we have everything really good automated. And as you said, that data center gives you unlimited options. Like if you want to change the code, you can change UI, you can change wherever you want. Speedrunner is the most powerful tool in the Atlassian ecosystem that nearly everybody knows and uses. And we use that super heavy, like hundreds of scripts of behaviors to simplify the work for the users. But also, I was pissed very often going to the Atlassian conferences like Team 23, Team 22, or I think it was not Team that time. Anyway, it was an Atlassian event, I think. What was the name? I don't remember.
One of the random events in Las Vegas.
Yes, exactly. and there were no even single word about data centers.
Yes.
So to find roadmap, you need to really look in the internet in the small sections. What are the road? But they are developing super good features like the site optimizer, like extended logging and so on. So Atlassian still develops a lot of good stuff for the data center customers. That the priority schemes finally that we were waiting for nearly 10 years to get them, and so on and so forth. So they are still investing in data center. It still gives you the highest flexibility, and you can have your own setup like multi-nodes, one node for REST API calls only, and it's super reliable tool. And that's not true that taking care of your own data center is a big problem if you have a proper team and properly configured, because everything can be more difficult if you make it too complex or do it in the not according to the best practices.
Yeah, I think that there is that's especially the weak point at the moment of the Atlassian story. So that data center is complex, or No, everybody can move to clouds, especially also the pressure what they're putting at the moment on solution partners and customers that you need to excuse when you can't move to cloud and so on. I think my wish, it's not Christmas time, but my wish for maybe the next Christmas would be that Atlassian maybe accept the fact that there will be organizations, and we see, I will come to this in a second, we see at the moment the trend also in AI. There will be organizations who want to run their own systems because for them, what you mentioned, regulations, could be data security, it could be also the individualization. So also from a vendor perspective, as you said, in data center, you can change every screen, you can change the UI and so on. So also from an Atlassian perspective, I don't want to have this requirements from big companies like Visa or whatever to change something on the UI. My cloud system is the product for everybody. So, and they need to live with all my changes, what I want to do at Atlassian and what the most requested features are. But there are simple organizations, they want to say, no, I think about once about my UI, and this need to be stable the next 2 years because I have 20,000 users here. When I constantly change my UI, nobody understands the system anymore. Or really heavily individual systems. And this is what we see a little bit on AI systems now more and more, that you have all these AI tools like Atlassian Rovo or like ChatGPT, or you name it. But companies who are going really with strong business cases in AI things, they starting to train their own LLMs. They run it on separate services. They connect separate things on it. So they're creating their own graph model of a data subset and rec databases on whatever to have a super specialized solution for exactly their use case. And this is probably, I don't know, and AI trends are resilient for 2 months and then something new is coming up, and sometimes quicker. But this is somehow a trend back to your individual data center solution. And this is an interesting one, and I'm really looking forward how Atlassian will solve it. My wish on the wish list is definitely, please, Atlassian, when you hear this, accept there will be customers on data center, give them the possibility to do it, and develop a hybrid model. I saw it many years ago in a Cisco ecosystem. Cisco had the same problem. They said to every customer, you need to move now to the cloud with your voice system. But every customer had a big call manager or collaboration manager somewhere in their basement or in their data center. And the customers, they didn't move to the cloud stuff. And they actively communicated with Cisco, and Cisco developed a hybrid model, put one licensing over it. It was SaaS and for all the finance and stock market stuff, perfect SaaS, cloud company, etc. But you had two distribution models or installation models. One was a public cloud and one was a private cloud, what was your data center. And it was possible to create interactions. And this would be, I think, from my perspective, what I hear from solution partners and customers, the way to go. Going in a hybrid world and allowing all the fancy stuff on cloud, allowing all the critical stuff on data center, and enable a collaboration. So this would make companies happy.
+1 if you have my vote, if you
Cool.
would like to
We are two already.
CEO or even replace Scott in that CEO level, but fully agree with you. However, I have to add to my points that other companies are doing the same. So I also collaborate with the solution partners like Cross ALM in Berlin that are like part of SAP business and Atlassian business or Divinity or Adaptavis or Valiantis. So we have a lot of partnership as well. And coming back to Cross ALM, so they are doing services for. So that's the logo, bridge the gap. So they are doing stuff for SAP and Atlassian and make it together. But SAP is also doing that. Because I think it's a pressure from investors to push as much to software as a service because it looks nice in the financial report and cash flows and so on, subscription. And unfortunately, that's the way everybody inherited from someone, and they are each other doing the same. And I don't like this trend, because exactly what you said, the tool should help me, and I would like to decide how I would like to use it, not that you are pushing me to do that. The same with AI, right? So we have a two.
By the way, wait. Let me jump into this point, because I had, I think 2 episodes ago, I discussed it with Andy. These RFC 60 new pricing models.
Mhm.
So, and that's an interesting point. I totally get the subscription stuff. I mean, you can buy subscriptions for everything. You can have a boxer short subscription if you want. I sometimes I like it. Sometimes I would love to buy a product as a product, and I'm the owner, like boxer shorts, for example, and not consuming it on a subscription base. But now with the RFC 60, where there is these, I mean, it was public discussed, so we or also public released from Atlassian. There are some cool things in it, like the multi-instance licensing. Yes, perfect. Also decoupling JSM, so for JSM only apps, Jira Service Management, also good. But they have also 2 more ideas on it, which change a little bit these classic subscription nature. So one is a named user pricing model, and the other one a quota usage model. So this goes a little bit away, and I don't know. I'm not so much in the financial pressure, what you mentioned, or what all the funding companies love to see here. But from my technical and a little bit commercial perspective, this is a step back to old consumption models. Yeah. So, and this gives then away the beauty of subscription. Yeah, paying user $10 per month, blah, 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 always growing, monthly recurring revenue, double-digit growth. Yeah. No, when we go to a quota one, the nature of this is changing. And then I'm more and more back on data center as well, or on like a data center or named user thing.
Overall, the pricing in Atlassian world is total disaster. And it's
Okay.
always been.
Yeah.
From the eBay perspective, we have always the problem that one department wanted to buy some app. Doesn't matter if it's I don't know, project management like Structure or whatever app.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And they had 200 users in the department. You need to buy license for 15,000 people.
But
How you justify this in the market, in the sales department? I always
Yep.
say, talk to
Yeah, agree.
Atlassian. Talk
Yeah,
to Atlassian. So
but agree on the other side, and that's also what we discussed a little bit with Andy. So I don't want to jump too deep in it. I totally understand the problem of a customer, and I think there are also tons of app vendors who harmonize this. So especially when they understood, okay, only a small part of the company will use my app, they harmonized it in the higher user tiers. That's not so cost intensive. But all the new pricing models will create now an aspect, or I strongly believe it will create an Atlassian marketplace world where script runner license is not costing $1.50 or $2 anymore per user. It will cost $30, $40, $50 when I go to a named user stuff, because there is a smaller licensing group, like you mentioned, just 200 people want to use it. But the development effort and the revenue for the app vendors need to somehow stay the same, so they can't deliver the same product now just for 10% of the users for the same price. So they
it,
need to increase the
it will
price.
be even worse. So
Yeah,
because that's a problem of the usage and the quota, how you estimate how much the app
yeah,
is worth.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
look at the Doctor for Jira app, right? That app will be used by the 1 or 2 people in the whole company, no matter how big is the company, because it's a tool dedicated for the senior administrator of the Jira
yeah,
to clean up the stuff. Of course, you can be the medium and junior level as well for the some stuff. But for example, merging custom fields, it's super expert
yeah,
stuff. Of course, you can play with it because we try to do that as simple as possible. But there only be 2 users in the. We have like many big clients as well. that they have like instances 15,000 users, and only 2 users will be using that. How much the app is worth for them, for you, how much it saves the time. The same for you. Like you also have an app for data center, because
Yeah.
at eBay I was a big fan of your app. So single sign-on, we use it for Confluence and the Jira because it can solve the most complex problems of configuration multiples IDP in the world. And then you can and also thanks to you, like we could save some money with reducing the inactive users licenses. That's
Yeah.
what also we inherited in the doctor for Jira, because for the many customers was, hey, listen, we don't
We are
have
also
any
working
data.
on a cloud version now for it.
You have okay, cool. So yeah. So in the world of the data governance, you should disable the users if they are not inactive on the selected in your company policy time range, and then you can save money of reducing
Yeah.
the license used.
Yeah.
Of course, the problem is with reactivation because it's still pretty manual, or there are some workarounds. But yeah, so that's what's also what we did in the many systems. So if you have so many Jira, so many Confluence, and people are using rarely stuff in the data center, that's again why data center is better. So we could make the configuration of single sign-on to be like that. If you don't log in for the 90 days, you were disabled. But when
Yeah.
you try to log in, and it's a single sign-on coming from the Okta, it was automatically reactivating to your user.
Yeah.
And even more important, it's that the user. That's listen, people, because that's a really good knowledge sharing. You can configure single sign-on with the Björn team that you are deactivated, but you still can be assignee, reporter, and mention in the comment, because you do not deactivate user. But there is a
Yeah.
workaround. So you create special group. We named it Shadow IT group, which has possibility to be assigned and the reporter,
Yeah.
and it does not consume the license. However, the problem is with the mailing, but that's not a big deal. And then you can normally mention people in the tickets. And when they
Yeah.
log in, they will be assigned and so on. So for the workarounds for mailing, you need to develop probably something by yourself. But still, you can mention all the people, and looking, they are not having the title disable, inactive, and so on in the bracket, which was one of the biggest problems. So we spent some time with your team. Kudos, super good support. We and AppForge like learning from the best. And because support, it was always one of the most important for me factor for selecting the app vendor as a customer. So
Yeah.
support, reviews, how I even did some tries. So I was that guy that was, I will buy this app and I will see how fast they will reply. So I was creating like 4 tickets. So I was doing like battle cards, so comparing for 3 or 4
Yeah.
solutions, creating the support ticket, and counting on my watch how fast they will reply with some stuff.
Okay, not on the calendar. You did it on your watch. Okay,
Yes, on my watch.
that's
Yes,
already set the
yes,
expectation.
yes, yes.
But that's
And
a good point. So let's try to leave a little bit the rabbit hole where we fall in with the Atlassian things, because that's a nice trigger. Because you are now app vendor, so you
yes,
left on the consultancy,
yes,
internal consultancy part. On the eBay part, you found somewhere your doctor's dress and you said, okay, I'm now the Jira doctor. I found a company and call it AppForge.
yes.
So
Still
what do
doing
you,
consulting. Still doing consulting, to just be
yeah,
clear, because Doctor is like heavy tool. So some of the clients requested from us packages of the days to support them. But yeah, so dropping the consulting idea. Not
so
fully,
what,
because I have like some friends that still requesting support from me, or solution partners, especially
yeah,
for bigger projects.
yeah,
But yeah, so the story
yeah,
behind the AppForge.
yeah, what's the story behind it?
Yeah, what the story? Story is super funny, super like nearly American dream, maybe, in that smaller German Polish version. So
Yeah,
imagine what happened. So that tool, Doctor for Jira, was in my head since ages, because what I did, I was doing that with, I told already, SQL queries, script runners, and doing that manually. And I hated that, or semi-automatically, that you need to run and doing a lot of stuff. Because when you work for enterprise level customers and you want to keep the data governance on the good shape, in the good shape, and I'm passionate about the data governance and what data you have in your ISA, because I think the redundant configuration, cluttering configuration makes people to more difficult to work on the tool. And sometimes they are saying we don't like Jira because it has so many stuff and so on. So try to reduce as much as possible. And I was doing that manually. Then when I joined eBay, so imagine that eBay is like huge enterprise level company that is acquiring new companies every month, every second month, and then merging Jira, splitting them. And I was like, okay, Hubert, that's a new company. You go there, do the assessment of the application.
Yeah.
So you open the Excel and Word and copy pasting from one screen to another, perfect Word, and then saying, okay, that should be reduced, blah, 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 blah. And of course, the script runner scripts, putting in the Word, sending to the management. They gave the budget for cleaning up and then merging. Awesome. I hated this, but yeah, it was paid. So,
Yeah.
and then I was in my head, one day I will create app. One day I will create app to not doing that manually or semi-manually, because it was like every task was the same, and sometimes super difficult to find the duplication and unused object. And then the corona hit, and then you can't leave home. So what you are doing in your free time? Thinking about what can you do to kill the time. And then I thought some friends of mine from long days, the developers, because I know how to write a script, but I was never like developer, like that full-time developer. And we started to develop the app for myself using in eBay in the Java, Doctor Data Center for Jira. But then the Atlassian announced again Codegeist 2022. And we said, okay, let's do MVP of the app, but
in cloud.
In the Forge.
Yeah.
So we created an app that was funny app. So it was collecting the stuff from REST API and pushing it to the Confluence page. And then in Confluence, you have some kind of small diagnosis and all the objects and score, because it's all about the score, about the health check. And then what happened? So we checked so we expected that, okay, that's a nice idea, that's my need, and I will use it anyway. If it will fail, maybe I will push it to the market one day, but I will go back to development of data center and I will use it for my daily business. And then we won the first prize. So we got a $35,000, if I remember correctly, tickets to the Las Vegas, all four of us, and we spent some nice time there. And then what happened? Atlassian reached out to us and say, hey, listen, we need that you will bring that up to the marketplace. And here is the money to open the company. And I said,
so it means you took Atlassian as an investor also on board?
Yes, so the Atlassian has a program, Atlassian Venture.
Yeah.
So if you have a nice idea, you can apply, or you can just discuss with them. We discussed them. The first discussion was during the Team 22 in Vegas.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, you won the prize, or 2023 it was. It was March 2023. And then they gave us money. That's some kind of loan for 6 years. And then you open the company and you start fully develop the product and bring it to the market. So so we started to do that. And
so now you're a company with if I looked on your website, you are 6 people.
Yeah, 5 people currently. Yes,
of 5 people.
5 people currently.
And you have 2 apps available in the marketplace. In the preparation, you told me there is another upcoming one. We will talk to this a little bit later in it. Let's jump a little bit how your team is organized. So, I mean, it's founding a startup is, as you said, you had the idea many, many years in your mind. So then there was a point, okay, solve your own problem, which is always the best point of funding a startup or creating a company. Solve your own problem. Maybe other people have the same problem. So you solved it on data center. You saw the opportunity, Codegeist, CloudForge stuff. Now you have a team of 5 people. So how are you organized? Where are the people based? So how's your structure?
We are working fully remotely because I live in Berlin. The startup is in the Wrocław because there are 2 other developers there, and that's my hometown and easier for me to manage all this stuff. And 2 other people are living around the Poland. So one in Warsaw and one in Częstochowa. So 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 we
So
do
means
not
it's a
have an
little bit
option.
like Marion explained last week in the podcast. So she was the only person who is
Yes.
not next to the team. So same for you.
Yeah, but the
Uh,
team is super distributed. So we work fully remotely, of
yeah,
course. So our what we use the most to organize, of course, we have some kind of planning once per week. We have a daily stand-ups, but every second day, and we use a lot of Slack to communicate. So we
yeah,
are slacking all the time about some stuff and jumping in the huddles, and that's how we organize this. Of course, we use Jira for the
yeah.
managing the backlog and planning work, and
Makes sense.
but we
Let's
do not use the Scrum in that way of having iteration and sprints. It's more like back to the Toyota engineering way of working on Kanban. So when
yeah,
you finish your task, you take another task from the backlog. So there's no sprint that you work in the iteration, because we want to be faster and we want
yeah.
to prioritize each time. When you finish the task, you know what task you will work on the next.
Okay, good. So more the Kanban approach. Okay.
Yes, Kanban
Um,
approach.
that's a perfect trigger word for. I sent you a survey in the preparation for how you see agile meeting or agile ceremonies, meetings, how you behave in it, etc. So, and you mentioned already your stand up is every second day. So let me share the screen and let's check your answers on your on the questions. So classic double share. So the first part in the survey is always about preparation. And your answers are the orange ones,
Mhm.
and the more purple ones is the average of all podcast guests so far. And as always, I just pick out some things here. So what I see is, and I mean, when some or the people who hear the podcast at the moment probably also see it, so that you are full with ideas, full of things, what you want to discuss, and so on. And it's also a little bit reflected in your answers here, because you are neutral. And when somebody is neutral to something, it's in some cases a disagree, or but you are neutral to properly structure your stand-up meetings in 3 questions, and you are also neutral for preparing it properly with notes, issue keys, and so on. Um, that's fine. I'm also a chaotic person. So, how is your team? Because I know my team has sometimes a challenge when you have relatively quick ideas. Let's do this. Let's do that. We need to fix this, etc. Sometimes you are faster as the structure behind it. So, how is your team handling this? Because it could be challenging for a team when you think in so quick steps and not preparing the stuff properly, etc. So how's it going for you?
So what we do, that's why I selected that preparing is not the big deal, because first of all, people don't like to prepare for the stand-ups based on my experience that much. But what we do, it's the sharing screen just from the Jira. I'm sharing always the screen where you have a ticket, and what we try to keep it back from the, again, Kanban way of working, to not have more than one or maximum two items that you work on.
Okay.
So, and what is the preparing is to always trying at least to keep tickets updated. So that's
Okay,
the
the
most
other challenge.
yes. So that's one of the most difficult part of every single company, to keep the data updated, because then you know what's going on. Yeah, so we are small team, right? So, and we
Yeah.
discuss many times per day. So that's why stand up is more or less the topic where we bring something to
Mm,
that it's blocking us. Oh,
mm.
or
How?
needing opinion on that. However, what we have is that we still use the three kind of questions, but not always all of them. That's why I
Yeah.
put it in neutral, because
Yeah.
everybody has some time slot, and we never cross 15 minutes. So if it's something to be discussed, we are also we are writing it down or in the chat, post stand
Mm,
up topics or breakout room needed. because some of the teams, like we have like marketing person as well, super great Patricia, and she does not want to, or we don't want to involve her in the like engineering topics and so on. So breakout rooms after the stand up, uh, or post stand up, a short call between, or staying in the call. That
That,
works.
that's that sounds interesting to have this also fixed plan, that nobody plans something else. So these post stand-up stuff or breakout rooms. Quick question to this before we jump to the next part of the survey. Would you say, because you mentioned, okay, we are a small company, it works for us and so on. A little bit same what Marion said, or Marion had a similar approach to it. The structure works in a small company. Now we have the benefit with you. You worked many years in a big, huge company. Would you say your structure at the moment would also work in a company like eBay?
Not at all. So it's different when you have a 5 people team, and we had 21 people team.
Yep.
So then it was sliced down because it was too many people.
Yeah.
It sliced down to 6 people.
Yeah.
And then, yes, so in the bigger company, you don't talk with each other like couple times a day. So we did so we still work in the Kanban way, so not sprint planning and so on. We just work on the Kanban every day, daily, and once per week, weekly. And then we answer to these 3 questions and describe what we are doing. But also we have that post stand-up topics, because some people with talking about the ticket, like I could talk like about any tickets like for 30 minutes, and because
Easily.
there are so many, my brain always have to do that. And especially when you have huge environment, like adding new projects, changing configuration, changing like some kind of global stuff, should be discussed really often in the team. So
Do you have somebody in your team who's interrupting you on some point?
Even it was tough to interrupt me, to be honest. And so usually they were raising the hand if I was talking to. But no, we used to, when we had like Scrum Master once, then that person was counting. But I learned with the past that sometimes, especially in the daily, I try to be as short as possible, right?
Yeah. We had yesterday in our stand-up a short thing when we had a little bit chit-chat in the beginning. So we also talked about this because we have also one team member, Raime. He's from Spain, and I think 2 years ago on a team event, we figured out, and you also know Raime.
Yes.
So we figured out in somehow a group work that he asked the team that some people should interrupt him and stop him talking when they realize he's talking in circles. And we had somehow this topic yesterday again in the stand-up for a short moment. And my thought was, I only know Raime who's talking in circles, because then he's starting the process again, or drunken people doing the same, by the way. So then that's, classic one. Okay, let's jump to the next one, active listening. So that's, you agree with most of the parts here. So I listen to colleagues, updates, avoid multitasking. You agree. You also celebrate achievements with the team. I think that's also in a startup probably a super important part. And also the questions to identify synergies. I know that you are a person who is really good in active listening. So, and when you want to put it a little bit in stereotypes and so on, you can see very often people who listen to say something, and there are people who listen to understand first and then say something. And you are definitely in the second group. At the same time, your speed and your pace is super quick. So how is your team doing the active listening to you? Because that's I think that's a challenge for your team with your pace, that they need to catch up with you. Is this a situation, or have you found somehow a superpower for that?
It's totally opposite, because that's again who am I in the private life? So if you close the lid of your laptop, I used to
Yeah.
be semi-professional football referee. So I was in the third division, and I was
Ah.
also football referee in Netherlands. So in on the pitch, you need to make a decision in 1 or 2 seconds, or have prepared in your brain decision if it will happen. So if there are two players running and you are already thinking if the player red defender will make a foul on the blue player, it's red card. So you have prepared already decision before it happens. So it's anticipation of the decision. And then you don't have time on the pitch to explain with elaboration what was your thought, thinking process. That's it. You need to make an like army comment.
Yeah.
It was foul, red card, no discussion. That's it. If you want to discuss after the field, you cannot like tell more, because first of all, the, I'm always saying that you are running with the whistle after 22 people that are sweat, right? So
Yeah.
men or girls, because I was referring for the both genders, and so they are in the, I don't know, in the some special of mood of the playing, so they can be angry, sad, and all kind of emotions, and you
Yeah.
cannot like start talking about blah 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 blah. In my opinion it should be done in that way. No, red card, end of discussion. So I inherited that also to the business, so I tried to make the the explanation as simple as possible, and also I try to understand that, because if I do not understand that, I don't know how to tell the other people that he will or she will understand that what I mean. But also
Mm.
I'm open for the discussion, because I like the discussion, and that's kudos to the York, so the previous community leader, because I think he was the best listener I ever met, and I tried and learn and look how he was doing, because he was always like uh, it can be seen that he was for a long time CEO for the company, like in
Yeah.
the international company, and how he behaves, how he listen, and then processing and thinking about every single word that he will say. I still don't get, couldn't get at the same level to think every single word and stop using swearing sometimes and so on, because
Yeah.
it's coming back from the football, because you need to swear to that, because if not, they will not.
It's an important part. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
For
So
sure.
that's the two mentors, right? One was the football and one was the York, and I tried to merge these words as best as I could.
So I like one last question to active listening. I already on the next slide. So you mentioned one interesting aspect when you are a referee. Then you already think about the situation, what could happen, and what will be my situation. So it touches, or what will be my decision probably. So in business, this goes a little bit in strategic planning or risk management things and so on. Are you doing this also in your startup life at the
Yes.
moment, that you think about okay, when we go in this direction, then this could happen, then my decision will be this. So that's first part of the question. And then a little bit the chess questions. How many steps in the future you try to think? So is it just the next step, or is
No,
it?
no, no, no. So I like the long range planning and putting some kind of, I named it milestone, but it's not really milestone.
Mm,
So, but I would like, so for example, I'm the person that in December putting the goals, private goals, business goals, for the next year. Excel
mm,
sheet every year with the points, and then I check what I did last year, if I achieve or not, and then I plan the next year as well, and then as well checking that if I managed to do that. And I also had like, for example, I would like to get married before I become like 35. So it was also my goal on my list, like that kind of details. So private, or I
so
would like
done.
to have a kid, yes, and or I would like to have like a monthly recurring revenue in the business world, or I would like to get a better car for traveling because that car is pretty bad, and so on. So, and I try
Yeah.
to review that points one per quarter to see, and also I'm the planning up to D letters really often. So if I plan something, I have plan A, B, C, and D. So
Interesting.
I try to have always that nobody can surprise me or. However, it's tough, especially when you are failing. And oh my God, having startup with so many failures. Like what I have failures in the last 35 years, or I'm 38, let's say 20 years of being professional, 18 years of being professional. It's the
Yeah.
same amount in the startup in the first year of being there. And it's such a difficult to get into the market and so on. But it's challenging and I like challenges. Oh my God. So
That's super interesting. I never would have guessed this because I thought you are more a person, because I'm more the person. Yes, I also do a plan, somehow a rough idea. Okay, that's next step, blah, 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 blah. But then I have relatively often the aspect, also what when my team is asking me something, or my partner is asking me something about a crazy plan, what I have, where then, okay, what should we do when we have problem X, Y, Z? And I'm more on the side, okay, we're thinking about when we have the problem. It's interesting. I thought you are also more the person. Okay, let's start. We will see how it goes, and let's make the decisions on the journey. Interesting, super cool. Okay, value delivery. Um, so here your points. I just want to pick up one stuff or two things here, because also here you are neutral on two things, and I would like to ask you how will you do it when you're not do it somehow in stand-up meetings or whatever. So you're neutral in two things. You're neutral in stand-ups help to address and solve blockers timely, and handover and feedback loops are easier than before. So why you are neutral here, and how you do it in AppForge?
yeah, so again, from engineering perspective, depends how you understand the question. So I understand that you find a solution for the problem. And in engineering world, stand-up is not the place for doing that. That's why it's neutral. So you
Mm.
know that there's a blocker and then you create a breakout room and then you 1 hour spending to try
Mm.
to solve for 2 hours or 3 hours.
Mm.
So if you ask me if it helps to solve the blockers, yes, by creating the breakout rooms. That would be the answer.
Okay,
But
so it's more the you address it in stand-ups. You try to stick to your 15 minutes, as you said,
exactly.
and then you pick the right people who are necessary for solving blocker X, Y, Z.
Yes. And
Got
about
it.
the feedbacks, that's also really so when you are working in engineering world, people are really often introvert, right? So
Mm.
so you need to so we are doing that in the weeklies or longer meetings. So I fetch them by the tongue. Hey, what are you thinking right now? What would you
Mm.
like to improve, and so on. So we never touch that topic during the weekly, during
Mm.
the daily, but weekly. So that's why it's neutral. But I know that, for example, in eBay, we have like first line support people as well,
Yeah.
second line support. Oh, and they could talk about the feedback like hours. And
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have also in for our support team, we have also a daily structure. It's a little bit different because they're really talking detailed about tickets, and for support teams, it's a little bit a different. Not a little bit. It's a complete different approach because here ticket handovers, who's working on which ticket, especially when you opened a ticket and you're sitting there with your watch and you want to have an answer, then support teams need to be aware of this. Cool. Um,
And
it's
maybe disclaimer, so
yeah,
because now we are 5 people only, but
yeah,
even so that's a good stuff for some as a knowledge sharing as well from the eBay slash Adevinta that stand up should start not with the start of the meeting.
what do you
And
mean with that?
that's why. That's why we had a slot of 30 minutes really often. Because
Yeah,
as you do not go to the office and you have distributed teams, it's always good to have chit chat. And
yeah,
I'm best in chit chat. You can ask me any kind of question I can talk about. What
I'm
did I
sure
do
about
in the
this.
morning? So
I'm sure
exactly
about
about
this.
the planning, right? So I really often have also like black visions, and I hate that because
Yeah.
like what I was doing yesterday, I was installing every barrier or every level in my house because Mike's second kid started to walk and I already see him falling down from the stairs, and I was assembling all barriers everywhere I could, and also like putting that stickers on the shelves and everyone like super prepared. Every single shelf has that mechanism to open.
So most safe place in the world now.
Yes, I would say so. Yes, and still has a bruise on the cheek because he hit the cartoon box with the toy. So anyway, but yeah. So I'm better best in the chit chat. So if you would not stop me, I could talk for the 1 hour every daily about
Yeah.
what's going on in the world, what's going on in my private life, company life, uh,
Yeah.
and the company business. So
I,
so
I, I
take
totally
your time.
agree. I totally agree. It's an important point for remote teams. I think it's also an important point for on-site teams. I mean, on-site when you're in the office and so on, you have always these coffee machine talks and so on. But I see it also more and more because when I'm in the office, I have relatively often the situation that I'm coming to the office, I go into a meeting room, I join a Zoom meeting, and then 8 hours later, or sometimes less or more, I'm leaving the meeting room. I had a couple of meetings, etc. So no time to talk to people. So it means this social interaction is important. I totally agree. And as you said, with when you work with engineers, developers who are most of the day deep dive into solving a problem, coding something or whatever. In some cases, it's the only social interaction on the day. So yes, you definitely should do it. Um, let's jump to the next point. BYOD, bring your own directions. You choose word diagnosis. Bring your own diagnosis. I mean, you have the doctor address. Actually, we talked a little bit about your okay, good heartbeat. The heartbeat
Yes,
measurement
it
tool is
doesn't
also
work from AliExpress for $1, but
okay, good.
it's
But
good.
I hope yeah, I'm relatively sure your app properly works. So what? First of all, I like the idea. I like the idea with the Doctor for Jira and so on. And I saw your app. I know what's doing. It fits perfectly, and that is, for me, it's clear why you have chosen this word. But explain it for the whole audience. Um, what is AppForge doing with Dr. for Jira? I know you have other apps with other things, but let's stick for Dr. for Jira for a moment. So, which problem you are solving?
Okay, so what we are solving, it's giving back times to administrators that they never have for doing the stuff about data governance. So I was administrator in many enterprise level, and but not only enterprise, any kind of Jira face these issues that you don't have time for the cleaning up. So what we do, we focus on the few aspects. So first of all, it's one button diagnosis. So you just install our app, you click one button, and you have a full score of your instance in 20, and it's breakdown to 23 reports. So we are talking about the screens, to the field configuration, to the projects, filters, users, groups. So we analyze every single object, and as I mentioned before, object can be anything in the Jira, and give the
And
diagnosis. Either it's
your score.
healthy or not.
Let's stick for the score for the moment. So, how is the score calculated? So, is it you mentioned in the beginning something like used, not used?
Mhm.
Is the so which aspects you're taking into account
Okay,
here?
so if we are talking from the mathematical way of thinking, it's average of the all the reports. So you have 23 reports. Each report has individual score, and then you get average of the all the reports.
Okay.
Mm, and for example, diagnosis can be much more than used and unused. Let's see the easiest example to explain. You have a project. You have a project in the Jira. We get this project and starting to analyze. Let's say you have a project. single sign-on. That's the name of the project. Then what we checked? We check, for example, if the project lead is an active user. So you have a point of contact to that project. So if you want to modify something in the multiple project, you have a contact. Second thing, what we checked, when was the last ticket updated in the project? And then you can configure Jira with your policy. For example, show me all the projects that were not updated in the last 180 days. Then you have a diagnosis project was not used in the 180 days. Another topic is that and there are much more that kind of logics.
Yeah.
And if all of this logic is passed, then you have a green. And if one of them is not passed, you have a written form, small, again, single line of the action that it's suggested. And then
So your app is then giving action recommendations.
Correct.
What you should do with that.
Because that's exactly what I did manually. So I was doing that with the scripts, and then I put by myself recommendations. And that's what our app would like to do that as well, what our app does. But it's not that only. So after the diagnosis, you have options. Options like bulk clean. So you can move all the project that you selected to the trash or archive them. And then, for example, if you archive all the projects that are unhealthy because of any of the reasons, and then the score gets to the green. So if you have 85% of the cleanliness of the object, again, simple mathematics. So if you have 100 objects, 85 of them are green, then it's 85%.
Yeah.
No brainer there. And the goal is to get as green as possible on the all reports. We have, for example, one of my favorite functionality, it's the filters. Filters in Jira Clouds are managed in the really strange and tough way. So if you want to change filter, then you need to go to shared filters, take the filter ownership, modify that, and save it.
Yeah.
We can do much more with REST API calls. So that's why you can, for example, even modify the private filters, fix them. It will show you if the filters are correct, even the private filters. You can modify who can use them, who can view them, and so on. And
filters are interesting because they are, or that's my behavior and what I see also on customer instances or when we discuss it with customers and so on. So filters are a little bit like these very often one-time use thing. You create a filter for something because now I need to see the issues in project A with the status, with the assignee, etc. I create a filter, I save it, and then two things happen. So maybe I don't need this filter anymore in the future, or next time I can't remember that I maybe can remember that I created the filter, but I can't remember the name anymore. Because very often in the situations when you do it quick, you give a shitty name to it. So it means you can't find it anymore and you create the filter again. And then after a while, you have 10 filters with a same logic, different name.
That's why we have implemented duplication mechanism. So for example, if you are Björn and you have two identical filters, it will be both red.
I think I have a lot more as two.
Then you have all of them as duplicated, and then you can decide. Also, we show them if they are used in the Kanban boards or the Scrum boards as well, because you can delete the filters, but then the board is gone. So that's also a little tricky because that's what you can do with REST API. That's why we always try to make stuff that people understand how to use that in the simple way. So the diagnosis, but we also saw, hey, listen, you cannot delete that because we block deleting the filters that are used in the Kanban boards. Because then you can break your Jira, and we had that. And also one of the most sophisticated and the complex feature that you have is a custom field merge. And that's and we spent a lot of time on doing that, especially that the app is written only in the Forge. So what we do, you get two custom fields, let's say they are like similar or duplicated, and you want to have one, especially cases that when you migrate to cloud,
Yeah.
sometimes it recreates the same custom fields with the migrated in the bracket. So our AI algorithm, if you turn it on, that's also important, and that was one of the first requests that we received, like how to turn off the AI. So, and it's not any kind of open AI and so on. So we have our own algorithm in PyTorch that does a matrix and then checking similarity of the object by names.
Yeah.
Then you have a list of the object that we assume that could be merged together, and then you merge them together. So we take care of the screens, we take care of the filters, we take care of the context, and at the end we migrate the ticket. So there are multiple steps, 15 steps to be done to be able to merge. So that's how complexity it is, and it's the only solution on the market that it is there.
So when I see, or when I or somebody sees your app in the marketplace, so Dr. Fujira reading all the amazing features, etc., then it looks like, okay, that's a helper tool for my one time or once a year task. So spring cleaning, I need to clean it up. So, but when I now understood your filter feature, or also these custom field feature, I have tons of ideas in my head that it helps massively organizations who have multiple administrators. So with especially these custom field stuff, how often you have the situation user group A is requesting a new custom field. It needs to be super urgent, super quick. It's for the most important project in the world after sliced bread. Please create it quickly. Then you create it, and then some point later, a week later, you realize, shit, we had a similar custom field already in another project, and now it needs to be merged. So also the filter stuff, I see here, for example, to make Jira more usable, because your filters get relatively quick, totally useless when you have 10,000 filters and nobody is sharing the filters and they are just for you and you can't use them in an app, for example, when they are not shared. So they need to be shared, they need to be communicated, etc. So what are your customer and solution partner conversations here? Is it an one-off thing, or is it a continuous helper for keeping a Jira instance clean and also usable? So
Okay, so as always, the truth here. So yes, our app at the beginning in the version 2, now we are on the version 11, was one-time action. And now we realized, hey, it's cool. So also it's a little bit like cleaning at home at the end of the day. That was surprise, but after long time, then now I have a 1.5 year range of having that app and company,
yeah,
because app was released into the market at end of the 2023. So now I have a full year. So I always explain that in that way. Why you are cleaning at home after every month? Because then it will be more clutter, more to stuff, and you want to have a clear environment. The same with the doctor. You can clean once, and then it gets messy, and then you will have more cleanup next time. Of course, it's up to you. Also, the Atlassian policy allows, and we do not want to block it, that if you are one-time action, we can't do much. And also,
yeah,
it's like, I'm also like personally the person. I'm personally think that if you are good, the good will come back to you. And if you don't want to buy it, just clean it up. And I will also have a pleasure that you used my app and you clean your environment, and your environment is a clean one. Of course, it's not good from the business perspective, but I don't want to make a shady workaround that you can only see the report, but you cannot make the anything in the free trial, because the Atlassian policy is saying free trial should be the full app. But we also think
that's now
about,
changing with app editions.
yeah, exactly. But you have also Doctor for free, so you can make a report always, and then you can do everything manually. But then we realized last year that we would like to make the tool as your weekly or daily stuff to go for your daily activities. And now we have also, except of filters and merging, the third new pillar. So there is user management. So it runs as a scheduler to take care of inactive user on the daily basis. So you can configure it and it will disable the users based on your configuration. And then you can save the cost. And then we have like now we see that the sales is getting much better because of that functionality. But also we are trying to develop more and more reports. So if you used it once in the past, now you cannot make it second time for free trial. You need to buy it. And also we are adding the new report, and the new report that we are working, it will be fantastic. And at least in my opinion, but let's see how it will be in the market, because we want to investigate all the apps on the marketplace and give the users duplication of functionality and save the money for them. So if you are like eBay, have 40 apps installed, at least 25% of them could be replaced.
But is it? It's an interesting point, because I would potentially argue here, hey, on cloud people have on average 2-3 apps installed and not 40.
Let's see when the big players will migrate, right? As well. But what is also the functionality there? So you can see if the app that you install has, in our opinion, better version or more functionality, or the price-wise better. So you will have a diagnosis on every single app saying, let's say there's a single sign-on, and there is Cantega, and then based on opinion of people that doing the survey for us, we give the recommendation to one of them, and also you can compare the price range and also the reviews and amount of installation. So you have everything at once, because a lot of the admins, what we investigated and found in cloud, a lot of people that are maintaining the Jira cloud are not really technical, or the amount of the experience for the administrator gets super low if you compare to data center. So let's say in data center you have at least 1 or 2 5+ years Jira admins, and here you have like 6 months or 1 year, and they do not know the market. And in the marketplace are 4,483 apps right now released to the marketplace, and we investigated each of them with the team, and we give the recommendation. For example, in our opinion, this app is S tier, this app is A tier, and what kind of other apps from the same category you can pick and see, and click on the link and see in the marketplace. And it will be soon released to the market as the 24th report.
Okay, interesting. I have so many questions, but we need to do a second episode.
Have you ever seen that there's an Instagram meme when there's a dog with the headset, and first time I joined C-level conversation, and there's a meme that is he joined the dog, and that no, you have to do that, can't do like that, blah blah. And that was exactly how we discussed about the apps, and how was the investigation of putting the tiers to the apps, because everybody has its own preferences, and based of course on the support. And so I tried to find at least 8+ years experience admins to do the similar evaluation. So it was like that like with the total meme. No, you cannot do that. No, why you're doing that? That was super fun.
I mean, I have tons of questions, but we need to find answers potentially in a second episode for this, because it's we moved I don't start this rabbit hole, but definitely an interesting, super interesting functionality. So means to summarize it a little bit, your journey with Doctor for Jira so far, it started with the classic one-time cleaner. So like window cleaning, you do it 2 or 3 times a year. And then after the next rain, it's already dirty again, especially when you live in a city, and then you accept it for 3-4 months, and then you clean it again. So this become more the weekly helper, like your weekly helper at home, who is helping you with vacuum the floor and so on. And
for example, filters, right? So you can modify any filter like without doing all these workarounds of taking over, or we have a lot of inline editing. So you can modify multiple project category just from one page. You don't need to go to each project. and change something, but you do that just from the main page.
Interesting. Okay. Got it. I definitely will give it a trial again. Trial again. I need to do it on a different instance then. So for testing out. So especially also the reporting feature, what you mentioned. That's a really good one. So you mentioned that you're working on a new app, which was also part of the Code Guys this year, or it was Code Guys last year, but the results were published this year. So what is the story behind your newest app?
Okay, so before we jump to the new app, just a quick remark about our second app, because it's exactly what you said, it's for your need. So we found the potential and the need last year because of the idea of the app came from the big customer of us, that he said, I want to integrate my Jira with another AI, not the Atlassian intelligence. First of all, he was on the standard version and he said, I don't want to share all my data with Atlassian. So he did not enable that. And we created app for Codegaze 2023, Agile AI Assistant. So it's simply the app that gives you the possibility to chat with any model that you select from the configuration. So you can connect to OpenAI and Gemini, and as well for your private, if you reach out to us, we can give you the option to your private stuff. So you can connect to your private. And then what it does as well, so the chat option is one of stuff, the most important, but you have also some kind of prompt engineering. What does it mean? So you can configure the prompt of the per issue type. So you have a project that's a single sign-on project, and you want to have always DOD, DOR, and acceptance criteria, definition of ready, definition of done, and acceptance criteria as an outcome of the summary and description. And then you just put it in that special window. That's our criteria. That's how the ticket should look like. And you just simply save it, then go to the ticket, click one button, and you have it. And you copy paste to the ticket.
Oh, I need to test it. Is it working with Jira Product Discovery as well?
Does it have the tickets structure?
Yeah.
Because I didn't test it. That if you have an issue view and there's an app icon, it should work.
Jira Product Discovery is.
I think it's based on the same issue, but I never tested with the product discovery. But it should work because it works.
I will test it. I will test it for you.
Yeah, and then you can have like different models, and we plan also to make like with the others. Now it's a Gemini and OpenAI, but it can be anything that you want with just putting the credentials, and that's it. Okay, and now coming back, and we got a prize for that last year for EMEA innovative app, and we have like now I think 70 or 80 clients currently. For that, and
it is super interesting. I mean, what we also created, I think it was already 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, when OpenAI introduced the GPTs. We created this Jira GPT, which is exactly the other way around. So because we said, okay, the UI or the idea behind this was, I want to talk to my Jira. I don't want to work in the ticket and the beautiful Jira screen. I just want to talk to Jira. And conversational mode in ChatGPT was introduced at this time. So, and this allows me to talk to a project, creating tickets, ask for tickets for summaries, and so on without opening other stuff. So your solution is the other way around. That's interesting because I have tons of GPTs where I potentially also could use robo agents, for example, but the GPTs are the reason why I'm stick at the moment to GPTs is that there are so many improvements on the models so that my prompting can be more worse and worse. Yeah. So I think 1.5 years, everybody was talking about prompt engineering, and this is a new big job in the market and on the horizon. I'm not a believer in this anymore. Yes, it will need to have senior prompt engineers and experts and so on, but here more for creating agents, AI agents, how to do this stuff. But for classic prompting, the development and the increase of the quality of all the LLM models takes away the need of good prompting every day more. The downside is a little bit where I have at the moment the biggest blocker, but I think this will solve automatically in the future, is that all API versions of it have are very often are limited on functionalities. Yeah. So when so for example, via API, ChatGPT or OpenAI can't do research in internet. So I need to fix it with first asking Perplexity and then asking OpenAI for summarizing it. When I use the UI from ChatGPT, then it can surf in the internet, it can do deep research, it can create pictures, can read pictures, and so on. So I think that's an interesting thing for 2025 because I assume that the APIs will getting better and better. We see more and more agent models outside where agents solve completely problems. And that's then super interesting when I can connect your app with my individual created agents for solving a specific problem. Cool.
Yeah, and
Looking
also
forward to it.
because most of our customers are frankly Germans and
Yeah.
Eastern South European.
Yeah.
Why? Because they are running on the standard, because premium is pretty expensive, and they want to have AI, and our app is like flat rate, so you can use as much as you want. If you want to have like expensive models, you need to put your own account.
Yeah.
And the second stuff is that some German company don't want to share with Atlassian stuff.
Yeah.
Because Atlassian on their page is saying that they use all kinds of models that they are there on the market. So it's not only OpenAI, but it's also other Meta and so on. It's written in documentation. And also, it's solving the most basic problem. People do not know. So how to use or do the proper structure. We have a like implementation of, we have like some nice conversation on Monday with the German bigger customer, maybe not that big, 700 users, and they have a policy from information and security department that every development has to have test cases and acceptance criteria. Of course, you can put it in, and they are using premium and they have an Atlassian intelligence. They can put it that write me in that, but they have a special format stored in the Confluence page. Do you think people are going to Confluence page, copy pasting that manually to AI to get the results? Guess what? No. And now they have one button, and that's it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yes.
It makes sense. Cool.
That's the problem that we are solving.
So that was app number 2.
Yeah.
What is app number 3?
Okay, so then that's a new app that we work on this last year, and also for Code Guys. So we did not get any reward, but also the categories were a little bit different, and we also a little bit get the inspiration from what Atlassian is doing, because what was our need, especially for that people like me that I'm working in multiple projects. I have tickets in all kind of projects that need to be reviewed or so on. So the idea of the name of the app is UserHub. You can find it on the Codegeist project gallery, that also probably in the link of that podcast.
Yeah, I can
what
put it in.
does. So you connect, you have one page. Imagine one page. You connect in configuration with your Confluence and Bitbucket. On the right-hand side, you have activity feed only for the objects or items related to you. Can be the Confluence page, can be Jira tickets, can be PR or commit. And on the left-hand side, you have a private backlog that you can work on, that it's not storing that data anywhere else. So it's in the Forge storage that you can get a note.
So it's not related in a project or something like that? It's just like a notepad?
Your own backlog, yes. Own private backlog.
So is it working with issues or?
Yeah, so you have object on the right-hand side. You have a plus button. Plus button, move the item to the left, your private backlog, and then you can make a due date there. You can add a note, checklist, and you work on that ticket there, or plan it to work. And then when it's done, you can just delete it.
Got it.
So you don't want to share your notes and share the checklist with the other people.
Yeah,
Especially
I have
when
for
you're
this
a
for
consultant.
this reasons I have a private project in Jira where
Okay.
which is only readable for me.
And how you
Um,
combine that with the tickets from the other projects?
yeah, I need
The
to
take.
go actively to the project. So the first
Oh,
problem, what you explained, I also have
and
that. Yeah, that overall, I'm totally not using the your work stuff in Jira because it's not really helpful. So means my task list is increasing at the moment because that's test number 3. What I need to do as soon the app is in the marketplace, I need to test it because I have exactly the problem. Um,
and also what it solves, that the biggest problem is what has changed in the last 24 hours,
yeah,
3 or 7 days, or custom range. So let's say you were off. So
yeah,
you are back on Wednesday. So today is
yeah.
Wednesday. You were off. You just click one button, show me all items that has been changed, and they are only relevant to you because you are reporter, assignee, or the watcher, or been
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah.
All
We have the same as a robo agent in the NASA app. So where you can, but your app doesn't need robo licensing, so means it's $24 cheaper as the feature on the NASA app. But this is a super helpful tool, especially the off situation, but also where I see it really often. I mean, we are working in a 4-day work week environment, so I have every week the problem. Okay, what happened in my off day? Because other people worked on stuff, but you have it also on in global companies. Yeah, so where people working at night because they're sitting on the other side of the world, and then you're always getting the feed blah 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 with tons of changes, but most of the stuff is not relevant for you, and you want to figure out okay what was going on my tickets,
And
etc.
when you have 11 Jiras to check and 47 Kanban boards, because that was
Yeah,
my case last year. So we have implementation of Doctor in 11 clients,
yeah.
47 boards. And when you are on Monday, you are checking all of them manually. And I said, oh no, I need to automate that somehow to see
Okay, it
what
also
has changed.
works. Not just working cross project; it also works cross instance.
No, 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 no.
No.
But you
Okay,
go
good.
to 11 boards and then you see if something has
Yeah,
changed
yeah,
since the time. And then you don't go to each Kanban board
yeah,
because you are like different ticket in the engineering board, different in the marketing board, and so on. And now
yeah,
you have one pager and also for Confluence pages to be reviewed or being mentioned. And you can directly from there see what has changed in the range of time. For example, the history of the ticket in the last 24 hours or last 7 days, and you see that somebody changed that and what, and you can make a comment out of it. And in the next version, we will also add modifying the ticket directly from the page as a framework, but that's a
that's
next.
cool. That's cool. So means my task list grew already. I need to test your Doctor for Jira app again. I need to test your AI assistant again because it's interesting for my use cases, and I need to test your new app. It's a
UserHub,
it's at the moment in review from Atlassian for
correct.
publishing on the marketplace. So means UserHub. Okay, good. Cool. Perfect. Looking forward to play around with that. Let's jump to the last point. We are running a little bit out of time. It was clear from the beginning when we both do a podcast that
Sorry for that,
potential.
but when I discussed with Hui, I said, Hui, I can't promise you. I can promise you everything else, but I can't promise you that I will, especially with Björn. Then
I mean, it's we are all working in somehow agile software stuff and so on. We all know how it is. There are these classic speeches where they are the last 20% taking 80% of the time, and estimations are always wrong. Blah 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 blah. The podcast idea started with an hour podcast. I think only the first podcast was 1 hour and 10 minutes with Chris Boyce from Umano. And then it was constantly increased with 10 minutes. So, and I think you are now the new champion, or you will, it looks like you will be the new champion.
not sure if it's good or bad, but I hope it's not boring. At least what I always try to not be boring. So because I know how
At,
it works.
at least we had a good conversation. I think it's totally not boring. So let's come to the last point, the 06 12 category. So always in the preparation, you need to answer 3 questions to me. And the first question is, what was an interesting challenge where you couldn't find a playbook for to get your goals? And your answer is here: the diagnosis of an enterprise level customer with 50,000 users and thousands project, and this all on Forge. So it means this was a customer for Doctor for Jira, or
Yes, it's Doctor for Jira.
yeah.
Oh, that's the problem that we were facing for 1 year of development, because as I wrote here, Forge is not enterprise ready platform for the app vendors because
Hmm.
of all the limits.
So quota limits,
Yes,
API quotas,
the
and so on.
size of the batch and how many jobs you can do, and how the job has to finish in the certain amount of time. Of course, they are increasing
Hmm.
each time, but for us, we have to rewrite the engine of the doctor 3 times, so from the scratch, because the
Just
first
for this customer.
for the enterprise level customers, because we were
Yeah.
growing the customers, and then that customer was the latest one, and we have to again slice down the jobs to the smaller pieces, the running in the sequence, rebooting with the watchdog, because Atlassian can kill your job without any reason, and then you
Yeah.
need to reboot it somehow. Oh, that was a nightmare. Like when we were able to diagnose that kind of instance, that was like having the Christmas or birthday, like super, super relief.
Yeah.
But still we encounter like many other, like for example, yesterday the user tried to migrate 120,000 tickets from one custom field to another.
Yeah.
And of course, after 60, Atlassian kills that because it's too many incursive the calls, and that's it. And it's
Hmm.
done, right? So now we are trying to find the solution. Overall, like creating something in the Forge is a tough learning lesson, and we never like assume that it will be so tough, because we estimate the doctor can be done on the connect or data center in 3 months, and it
Yeah.
took us like 12 months or 14 months in total to have like really stable version.
Yeah, we had the same experience with a NASA app, which is also a Forge app. I think we from our perspective, it was we made also simple mistakes. We started with probably not enough planning direct with the development, because that's a beauty what Forge explains. So you can easily start. You don't need to think about infrastructure, database stuff, blah 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 blah. Everything is there, and then we run into quota limits the first time. I think our first version of the NASA app was you can use it for 1.5 days, and then the storage is full.
Oh yeah,
So then
we did
we
our own compression for the data to solve that problem. So
yeah, I mean, at the end it was then the idea. Okay, then we are not storing the stuff in the Forge storage. So then we always refreshing simple the data,
Mhm.
and we're requesting it via API, but then you run into the API quotas. So means it was at the end a mix of using the right stuff for the right things. So it was also the usage of browser storage for a lot of stuff which is already on the screen, and it was an heavily thinking process, and it's still the case when we create new features, that we need to think about the architecture first, and not just starting development, thinking about, okay, what are new objects, where is it necessary that they are persistent, or is it just temporary stuff what we need, where can we store it, how should we store it, and so on. And that's um, I mean, the quotas are increasing, so Forge is getting better. App Week in Brussels also promised a lot of Forge stuff. Also, the end of life of Connect is more and more um, introduced from Atlassian. So Forge is a way to go, but I totally agree with you. It can be at the moment, especially when you want to do really cool stuff, it could be a really painful way for the app vendor.
yeah, especially if you compare to Connect, how easy it would be, right? So you have
Yeah,
your own service, you process the data and make a calls by. And
yeah,
here you need to works around a lot of stuff. But it's getting better and better as we discussed. So finger crossed, especially what they're promising. And they are killing Connect, which is super good for me as a Forge vendor, because they will put more and more and less restriction, more and more focus on the bigger players to migrate to the Forge and being able to migrate.
So what is your, I had yesterday the discussion with the developer, and I know I had many years ago the discussion with Atlassian. Especially also when we look on new stuff, or we talked yesterday, for example, for creating in Confluence these page trees when you want to move a page. So then the modal opens, you see a page tree, you can select the stuff, etc. So this stuff doesn't exist in Forge as a component. So you need to create it by your own. But when you analyze a little bit how Atlassian is doing it, then they have also somehow special APIs. So what is your thought on following statement? Because I made the statement a couple of years ago to Atlassian that it would be amazing for the marketplace and the whole Atlassian community when Atlassian would use for their products the same APIs what the marketplace vendor need to use, because this would improve Forge massively. So everybody need to eat the same dog food. But at the moment we have these two class situations. So Forge for marketplace vendors, or the APIs are different as the APIs what the Atlassian teams are using. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, unpopular opinion, our popular opinion, but a tough true, that Atlassian, I think, is scared of doing that because of the poor development team that they have. That's the reason. Because if
you think it's a quality thing? Okay.
Yes, quality thing of the development, because they are afraid that we will break something. Maybe they are right, maybe they are wrong. But in my opinion, if they would have a good development, then they would allow us to use all this stuff. But they don't trust people, and they don't trust even their own development team. That's why they are like separating and giving us like, and also what I do not like, because okay, it is what it is. I don't like it, and I think that's the reason why it's like that. But what I do not like it, that they used for some of this their stuff, there's something that you cannot do. So for example, they are like some apps that they are like maybe not taking over, but utilizing the stuff that they can and the app vendor could not. For example, checklist, right? So or other stuff. So they are taking advantage, and also even discussion on the Slack channel for the vendors about non-competition, and that it's not entirely legal, that you could use stuff that the company that it's doing that cannot, right? Because it's some kind of monopoly or so on. So imagine that they will do their own doctor and using directly SQL queries, that I cannot do that, and it will be 10 times faster and better, and you cannot do anything, right? So
I'm a little bit on a different side. I mean, I also see the discussions, and as much I like these discussions, I think the whole marketplace need to deal more and more with the aspect what we see already since a couple of years, that Atlassian has changed their behavior, how they deal with marketplace vendors. Also, same with solution partners. So it's relatively simple. In the past, it was better. And Atlassian is doing more and more what is good for Atlassian. I personally think that's their right. I
agree.
But I totally see the problem. I mean, I'm also a marketplace vendor. I totally see the problem. I also don't like how the behavior changed more and more. And it should be more a collaboration between. I would be totally happy when it goes back to a better collaboration between the ecosystem and Atlassian, because I think this could have the power, and the marketplace is the third biggest product from the Atlassian perspective. But I have more and more thoughts, but this will be again then our episode number 3. I have more and more thought that also apps from other vendors are also potential risks for Atlassian. Because when we look on their strategy, they can't control a roadmap of a marketplace vendor. They can't control where a feature goes and so on. So when they do it by themselves, then they have the full power. It's their asset. It's their intellect. It's their IP. So I have more and more the feeling that this plays also somehow a role in these whole scenarios. But yeah, it's getting tougher for a marketplace vendor. So many years ago, I would say, when you found a company, you were a developer and so on, go to the Atlassian marketplace. That's a cool place for having the ideas. But I assume you would agree it's getting tougher and tougher to create a successful company. It's
Now,
still possible, but
it's still possible, but I'm not sure if you know that or remember that Atlassian was an open source for very long, the Jira,
yeah,
and
yeah,
why it gets so popular because of the company. The name was the Greenhopper.
yeah, I know
So
this. Yeah,
Kanban and
yeah,
Scrum was developed by the different company that was later on acquired and incorporated into Jira product. That's why it gets so successful, because of that single app that did a lot of the solve all the problems that the people had at that time, that
yeah.
was so agile stuff. And imagine that Atlassian would not be here where it is if they would not make it open source and have the nice that time was no marketplace, just a vendor that created that stuff.
Yeah, I think I would definitely extend your story also that I think the marketplace was over the last 10 years also the enabler that a lot of customers said, yes, we are going for Jira
Screen
or
runner.
for Confluence because they saw, okay, the basic system can do this, this, and that, but I want to have this, and that also. Hey, cool, I can buy an app for it. Yeah, it's like a smartphone. Yeah,
Yes.
a smartphone is nice and cool, but the real fun comes with the apps, and these are individual decisions what you want to use. Okay, I need to look on the time. So, what do you face the next 6 months? Events. I'm looking forward. I will definitely meet you on some of these events. Um,
So which one? Which one you
yeah,
first?
definitely Team 25 Anaheim. That's
Mhm.
clear. The Jira Day in Krakow. I'm also there.
Okay, cool.
I miss the high velocity event in Munich. Are you not going to this one?
Mhm.
Okay. And yeah, I was once on the community event in Poznan. It's I think I was on the first one or on the second one.
Mhm.
That's a really cool one. But yeah, no, it will be Jira Day Krakow and Team 25
And
Anaheim.
Berlin? Are you planning to be
Um,
first week of
I tried
March?
to be there. I have at the moment appointment conflict, but I tried
Okay.
to solve it.
Okay.
Um,
And I would like also all of you to invite, if you are in the Berlin, Brandenburg or around, to join our community events. And you
yeah,
won't regret.
yeah, definitely, you should do it. It's always a nice group. So, where is the next event? It's an on-site event. Where is it in March?
It's in the, oh, what's the name of the solution partner in Berlin? Let me quickly check.
That's important. I can write it in the show notes. I will put the link from the event symbol in it.
Oh yeah, it's a 4th of March, and it's hosted in Code-centric. Oh, sorry for that, guys.
Ah, cool.
Code-centric. Yeah,
I met cool. I met the Code-centric guys last year. Perfect.
super
So
nice
then,
solution partner. Thanks for hosting us, and yeah.
you explained already to me you are doing a yearly planning. You also said you have plan A, plan B, plan C, and so on. So my question here, where you're planning in 1 year, so you just answered with one plan. Thanks for this, that we are not extending the time with. I have 10 plans prepared for where I will be in 1 year.
That's the
Um,
most important one, but the
the
tough.
mo- yeah, so gold marketplace partner. So what's the motivation behind it? So why do you think this is what I want to achieve in 1 year.
Now coming back to the story when I was on the other side of the table, for me it was always important to have established company as a provider for the solution, especially in the world like enterprise level, when the risk is important that you onboard the app and that the app is supported and so on. The Atlassian labels were pretty important to me, especially if it's a silver, gold, or platinum partner, not one man guy that's doing on the part-time stuff. Uh, Except the Jira workflow toolbox, of course, because it was super guy doing that in Spain. And but now it's already in the Atlassian Platinum partner. So yeah, so we would like to get into the gold partner, but let's see how it will go, because there is so many factors, because then you need to have a revenue, you need to do some certification, cloud fortified, and so on. So step by step, if we will achieve that, I would be super happy. But I have that's the best case scenario. So to get it, because I know that in 2 years from the starting of the project, getting gold would be too ambitious.
Would be quick. Yeah, because the Atlassian strategy is totally against it. I mean, they had it in the past that tons of app vendors with one Forge app were platinum in 6 months. That's what they're cleaning up this mistake, and they're making it super hard to achieve these labels and certification levels. Hubert, thanks a lot for joining me. We need to end now. I'm a little bit afraid that we are reaching the 2-hour limit, the technical limit. It's not my limit. It's a technical limit of platforms. Thank you very much for joining me. It was a pleasure to have the chat with you. We discussed so many topics. I'm already looking forward to try to create a summary. I think it will be the longest summary of the podcast. I will definitely check out your apps, Doctor for Jira, the AI assistant one, and also the UserHub one, and definitely also to the audience, give it a try. I know the Doctor for Jira previous version, and it was already cool, so I think it will be now much cooler again. And yeah, if you want to have a chat with Hubert, you can meet him always in the ACE community Berlin-Brandenburg, but if you have seen a lot of events. And then Hubert, thanks a lot for joining me today, and have an amazing day.
Thank you so much for having me, and you will find me on the events. I will be still in that doctor coat or wherever you named it. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.